What's good, powerful people? This is the Power Living with Purpose podcast with David C. Henderson, and this is the health tip of the week. Overweight vegans. Ooh. All right, last week I talked about overweight vegetarians. Now, because a lot of times we don't even hear that word. Everything's just vegan. And I'm like, what about vegetarian? Like, I'm a daytime vegetarian myself, and it seems like everything has to be vegan. But my problem with the vegan diet is that if you look at the studies on chicken eggs are one of the healthiest foods for the brain, full of protein. Yeah, the cholesterol is, but you know, it's not that high, and your body can really handle more cholesterol than they think. Then you can't have any type of dairy. But in terms of lactose quantity, the quantity of lactose in cow's milk is 2 to 3 to 4 times more than the lactose in cheese. So cheese is only has like 10 to 20. Cheese and yogurt only have like 10 to 25% of the lactose in milk. So absolutely, cow's milk is terrible, but cheese and yogurt are extremely good for you. It's studies done over decades and decades, and over 100 years have shown health benefits of cheese, yogurt, and eggs. So if you're vegetarian, you can have those things, but you can get, and like I said in my first tip, between eggs, yogurt, and cheese, I can get 50 grams of protein a day. 50 grams of protein a day from those. But if you're vegan, where is your protein coming from? All right, so the first part of the problem with overweight vegans is you're not getting enough protein. If you don't get enough protein, you're probably going to be hungry. When you're hungry, what's the first thing you're probably going to want to eat? Carbs. And what's the hardest type of calorie to burn off between carbs, fat, and protein? It's carbs. All right, so you're not eating enough protein, you get hungry, and you run to carbs, and now you're gaining more and more weight, even though you're not eating meat. Okay, so, and on my first health tip, on the tip last week, I explained the terrible ways that meat is made today, factory farming. I get it. That's why I'm a daytime vegetarian myself. I don't eat meat during the day because of all the problems with meat, but I do eat meat with dinner, and I do eat eggs and yogurt and cheese because it's for the health benefits and the protein. All right, in lieu of meat. So now the problem with a lack of protein is number one, hunger, but also which would lead to leads you down a slippery slope to obesity, because you're eating non-protein stuff, which is typically sugar and carbs. And then the other one is a lack of muscle. As you get older, the lack of muscle, the number one cause of death in older adults is falls. When you fall and you break a bone, that's the number one cause of older adults' death, is falling. And that is normally caused by a lack of strength and mobility and balance. Now, if you have stronger muscles, if you've kept your protein in your diet and kept your muscles strong, but also at the same time, there's no amount of protein you can eat that's going to make you stronger if you sit down all day. You gotta actually move your muscles and be active. But if you take a person who's active, who just eats fruits and vegetables and some nuts and maybe a protein bar here and there, a vegan who does not get enough protein, versus someone who's moderately active who does get enough protein, their muscles might be just as strong as an active person who does not get enough protein. Now, this person's going to have more endurance, but they're not going to have as much strength. All right, because strength and endurance are totally different. Now, so by limiting your protein, you're possibly causing yourself to die early by not having the strength that you need when you get older, because your muscles would not have the building block that they need with the protein. All right, now the only pass that people get for the lack of protein is if you're doing extremely high levels of exercise. If you're doing extremely high levels of exercise, your body is going to pull every little ounce of protein it can get and use it to the max. And also your body's just going to adapt. Just going to adapt. Your muscles will get stronger. They'll get bigger even without a lot of protein if you push them twice as hard. But the average person is not pushing twice as hard. They're just, the average vegan is not pushing extremely hard, because you're going to be twice as sore without the protein. So you got to work twice as hard and go through twice the soreness to get the same results as people who eat more protein. All right, so that's the number one problem. I know there are some foods out there, avocados and mushrooms, rice, which is carbs, that can give you some quinoa that can give you protein. But typically, unless you're doing the vegan protein, but at the same time, when you're doing the vegan protein, you got to understand that doing too much of one type of food is not necessarily good. So if it's just pea protein, and some people may be sensitive to peas. So some people may be sensitive to that protein. So you can do the vegan protein, that's fine. But I would encourage people to consider the benefits of being vegetarian instead of just vegan. All right. Now, the second problem is bread. All right. Bread is, you're looking for bread has protein a little bit, but at the same time, bread is full of carbs, and it is probably one of the biggest reasons why people are overweight. If you could just stop eating bread, you'll probably lose 20 pounds no matter who you are, no matter what age you are. Within a certain amount of time, you'll probably lose 20 pounds just by stopping eating bread. So when you don't eat meat, and you don't eat eggs, and you don't eat yogurt or cheese or any type of dairy, anything like that, you're probably eating bread, more than likely as part of your diet. All right. So the bread, full of carbs, the hardest thing to burn off, is going to lead to obesity, which puts you at risk for diabetes, which puts you at risk for cancer, heart attack, stroke, and all of that. All right. The third problem is sugar. All right. So because low protein and then addiction to carbs, if you're eating a lot of carbs every day, your body's going to get into the habit of it. You're going to be craving sugar. Now, if you're just a fruit and vegetable, like a raw vegan, you're just fruit, vegetables, nuts. Okay, great. Awesome. You're still, running the risk of being low protein. But if you're eating sugar, if you're eating pastries and pies and cookies and cakes and all that type of stuff, yeah, that's vegan. Cookies are vegan. You know what I'm saying? Unless they've been made with milk, I guess. But, you got vegan cookies. You got your, all that type of stuff. Your oatmeal, all that. Your cereal with almond milk or what have you. And almond milk also has no protein. 1 gram of protein per serving, which is basically nothing. All right. So, like I said, unless you're lifting weights, running, not jogging, not walking, but running, doing lunges, squats, burpees, all of that stuff, your muscles are not going to develop without protein. All right. So, so in terms of sugar being one of the worst things, but also a point is to make sure that you substitute stevia for sugar, as a 0 calorie, honey for sugar if you're more active, and Splenda only if you don't have a choice. Splenda is still better than sugar, but it's just not the number one choice. It's not as healthy as we thought it was, as everybody thought it was. It's definitely still better than sugar though. And brown sugar is nothing but sugar that's brown. It's just with sugar with molasses. It's not that much better than white sugar. All right, they lie to you all the time to sell you stuff. All right, so last but not least, the other part is the highly processed foods. So the highly processed foods means you got so many different artificial colors, artificial ingredients, preservatives, all that type of stuff in those packaged processed everything. So when you're buying those vegan burgers and the vegan this and the vegan that, And also, I talked about it on the first health tip about the vegetarian, is that too much soy. Soy is not good for younger men, older men, and younger women. It's only really good for older women. Everybody else should only be having a small amount of soy in their diet. So a lot of that stuff is made out of soy. And then you'll have other stuff that it may not have meat in something, but you've got your canola oil, vegetable oil, all that type of stuff, hydrogenated, trans fat, all that type of stuff. You might as well just go, eat a piece of bacon. It's more natural for you. Your body can actually process it better than all of those artificial ingredients and everything. But to be honest though, your body can process meat if you're eating a low carb diet. But if you're eating a high carb diet, then your body's got to process all those carbs. Then it can finally get down to breaking down the meat. If you eat low carb and you do eat meat, your body's going to be able to burn that off 10 times faster than somebody who's eating a whole bunch of carbs. So everybody should be low carb unless you're a marathon runner, a professional athlete, unless you work on the grass crew and you're cutting grass all day or something like that. If you're constantly moving all day long, sure, you should be eating carbs. Everybody else, stop it. Just stop it. Stop it with the carbs. You're killing yourselves. And that's one of the number one things for vegans is you're eating too many carbs, and then also not enough protein, and then the worst type of carbs, which is sugar. And then lastly, too many processed foods that come out of a lab, that come out of all these different places instead of just out of nature. All right. If you can eat as close to the ground as possible, try to eat more just fruits, vegetables, nuts. Like I said, I recommend a vegetarian diet instead of a vegan, where you can actually get some eggs, you can actually get some yogurt, actually get some cheese. Do not, stay away from cow's milk. Continue to do that, but at the same time, you can still be extremely healthy and still staying away from meat without having to be a vegan. You can still be a vegetarian, but do what you want. And I just hope that as you get older, the lack of protein, the abundance of carbs, and the lack of muscle doesn't kill you at an early age because of a vegan diet that you thought you were doing a good thing, and then you end up dying 10 years earlier from falling because you weren't strong enough. But it's pluses and minuses to everything. I hope it does keep your arteries clean. It keeps you, keeps it, lowers the cancer risk, it lowers all that stuff. Even though obesity raises it, an abundance of fruits and vegetables does help keep all the major health problems down. Except the obesity raises them. So you gotta figure out how to get under at a good healthy weight, while also keeping a healthy diet that does not is not full of meat or things that have you on the way to a heart attack, stroke, and cancer. All right, so plant-based is the way to eat, but low carb is also a way to eat. Adequate amount of protein is also a way to eat as well. All right, well, stay strong. And I forgot to say it, but the health tip is sponsored by American Health and Fitness Services. We bring the fitness center to you, online, virtual, in-home services. AmericanHealthFit.com, AmericanHealthFit.com. Stay powerful, my friends.